Good morning. My name is Jim Springer, and I have the privilege of probably being one of Pembina County's newest residents. We transferred our residency yesterday, in fact, so from Minnesota. And somebody asked me what I would consider success of what I'm going to tell you and talk about. I could say I want you to all think like I do, but that would be wrong. I don't want you to do that. I want you to take away something from this conversation that causes you to think differently. Mayor Hinkle, in her introduction, said she came back, but she also referenced she was going to leave. She was on her way out. She wanted to go. What I want to talk about today is creating a vibrant rural America that unlocks solutions that help feed the world, so that when a young person graduates from high school or college, they don't necessarily want to go away because we've created an environment that draws them back. That's a key for the vibrancy of our country to feed the world. I want you to imagine, though, we've all seen the pictures of empty store shelves when a hurricane's going to hit the coast, right? All the news media goes and they focus in on this shelf that has nothing there. North Dakota, Minnesota, we simply say, well, we're preparing for a 3-day blizzard and we're done. But let's imagine once that is an everyday or an every other day occurrence. That's a problem. And what I want to talk about is why a vibrant rural America is critical to not letting that happen. Next slide, thank you. But I'll do that for you. What is rural America? We have to understand that before we can even talk about it. Is it the people? Is it just people in small towns? Is it the farmers? Is it that area that you have no cell service? No, it's different. Think of the entire state of North Dakota as rural. And you go, well, we've got some big cities. We've got Fargo and Grand Forks and Bismarck, Minot, Dickinson. We've got some big cities. Let's talk about the big cities as we go to our next slide. In 2010, New York City had over 27,000 people per square mile. Now, we can understand square miles up here. We got them. We see them. Imagine 27,000 people sitting on that square mile. But in 2020, imagine over 29,000 people sitting in that square mile. You say, well, yeah, that's a big city. There's not a lot of those. Okay, let's go to Fargo. 2010, Fargo was just over 2,100 people per square mile. In 2020, they had grown to over 2,500 per square mile. You think, okay, everybody's growing, that's good. Well, let's bring it home a little bit farther, and let's go to Pembina County. In 2010, Pembina County had 6.6 people per square mile. In 2020, we dropped to 6.1. And you say, well, but yeah, maybe it's because guys that are older than me, they're not coming to Pembina County. They're leaving Pembina County to go where their kids are in the big cities and everything else. New York City, in 2020, the average age was 37.5. Fargo was 31.7. We're in the right direction, right? We're going down. We're getting younger. Pembina County was 45 years plus. This is a trend in rural America, not just Pembina County. And it's a trend that I believe we have to change. It's a trend that we have to look at and say, how do we figure out what's coming in the next few years? As we go to our next slide, you're going to see a number up here. We all know in rural America that farming is the backbone of rural America. farmers are going to face more challenges in the 21st century than they have ever faced. The population of the world on January 1 of 24 was estimated to be over 8.1 billion people. By 2050, that number is estimated to be over 10 billion people. Now, that's a pretty good increase, right? To feed those 10 billion people, statistics are clearly showing us we have to double our agricultural output. You say, well, we're not doubling the people. Why do we have to double the output? Next slide. It's because grains are being used for more and more different things. Corn is ethanol, soybeans biodiesel. Who knows? Maybe there's someone in this room that can take one of the most popular crops in this area, sugar beets, and figure out how to harness that energy of sugar and run the vehicles that sit behind on the street. Those are the types of things that are happening. The other thing that's happening as the population grows and income grows of people, they're transitioning from a cereal diet to wanting more meat. Well, it takes a lot of grain to get a pound of meat, about 4 pounds. Hence the reason for that. Doubling of our production. You say, well, we don't have double the land. You're right. So what does that cause? Does it cause panic? Does it cause stress? Is it an unclimbable mountain? I believe there are two things that we have to do to climb that mountain. We need to climb it. We need to climb it not only for ourselves, but for our kids and for our grandkids and our great-grandkids. We have to create this society, and as we look at our next slide, we're going to see that there's two things that I'm going to talk about that I believe are keys to doing that. One is technology. I spent 40 plus years in technology. Do we have any electrical engineers in the audience? Anybody? Well, real quick, when I went to school, we had the old tube technology. We didn't have what we had today. We got a computer with 1 meg of RAM and we thought we had the world by a tail. Who would ever use a meg of RAM? Yeah, okay. We all know enough about computers. That sends my age, but I grew up in it. But the other piece of the puzzle that I want to talk about later is people. But those two things, I believe, are the key to figuring out how we weave technology and people together to create that vibrant rural America that we all want to see and we all desire to see. AI stands for artificial intelligence. There was a move yesterday in Congress to put billions of dollars into artificial intelligence research. It's a runaway freight train right now. And you say, well, what's that got to do with rural America? First of all, if you don't know what artificial intelligence is, basically think of it as a computer that can think, read, and write for itself based on the inputs that it's given. That's kind of artificial intelligence at an extremely 200,000 foot level. But as we look at that, how is that going to be incorporated into our farming? Well, let me take you down a dream lane for a minute. What if you get up in the morning as a farmer or a farmer's wife and you say, man, where do I go today? What do I do? You turn on a computer and the computer says you got to spray field 31. And it looks at the data and says, I only need 5 gallons of insecticides or pesticides, whichever I'm spraying at the time, because I know, based on the data that I've gathered over the last 5 years, that the weeds are only 1/4 of an inch high and they're only located in one corner of the field, and I can spray 6 droplets on that weed and it's gone. That's artificial intelligence. That's what can happen. Do we need to fear artificial intelligence? Because let me tell you what, the news media is doing a great job of making you afraid of it. Can it be used for wrong things? Absolutely it could. But it's coming, and we need to understand it enough so that when we see it, we can determine whether it's the right solution for the issues we have at hand. Our next slide goes and talks about a 5G and a superhighway beyond that. Say, why do we need a 5G? Well, we got good connectivity in northeast North Dakota. If we get the amount of data starting to transfer that AI needs and all the needs that are out there, the superhighway is not good enough. It's got to be better. It's got to be more advanced. We've got to find the next thing. We've got to be able to transmit and receive more data. We've got to have that type of thing so that we can attract the small business of 4, 5, 6 people that's very profitable, that comes into our community and becomes a vital part of the community as they serve those around the area and maybe around the world, because we have a superhighway that they can access. The superhighway also opens up remote work. Those people that want to come back to the community can come back because they can work remote in their jobs. Those people bring families, those people bring energy, and those people bring a desire to be a part of something special. We can do that. Next slide, please. The third thing I'm going to talk about is robotics. Robotics is a key to the future. You saw and heard earlier that the population per square mile has gone down in Pembina County. That's not a unique trend, folks. That's rural America in general. Robotics is going to be part of the answer to that. It's going to answer some of our farming issues. You may see the day when you see 15 tractors out in a field doing different operations, all being ran from one computer, sitting at the front of the field, or even not there, sitting in their office, making sure that everything's getting done. Robotics helps a small business. For those businesses that have repetitive motions, you can get a robot in there. Not to eliminate a job. I think that's a wrong use of a robot. But how can you figure out in your jobs, in your businesses, to expand and solidify your workforce future even more by use of automation? You say, well, where are we at today with robots? We have robots working in the farm today. We have robots out there. Companies like Sabanto, companies like John Deere, like Case, they all have remote operation vehicles. It's there. It's coming. How do we look at that and use it positively to recreate a vibrant rural America? Next slide, please. We do it with people. We do it with everybody in this room. It was said earlier that people have different talents, and that's so true. There's a few people that are dreamers. They think about the things that nobody can think of. They think about these things that just seem totally off the wall and crazy. But they're the dog that nobody wanted, and nobody wanted to be a part of because their ideas were too crazy. But somebody comes up and says, you know what? I like that idea. I want to be a part of that idea. I'm a visionary. Let me create the 50,000-foot vision to make your dream a reality. Those are also very unique people. Kyle is a dreamer. He's a dreamer. But you know what? He also listens. And there's those of us that have the visions that can help take the dreams to reality. A lot of respect for that young man. He's come a long way. But we have to look at people, and the majority of us sitting in this room aren't either one of those two. We're the tacticians. We're the ones that take those visions and say, I can take this piece and make it reality. I can take this piece and make it reality. Still extremely vital to creating a vibrancy like never before. So then what else happens? Small business. How does small business fit into this? Small businesses are critical. They're critical. What strategic alliances can a small business make with some business that's 300 miles away to enhance both companies? What small business can figure out one more niche to add one more good paying job to the community? How do we weave all that together? What can our local government do? Support those crazy initiatives sometimes. Take some risks. My generation has to stop being a roadblock. So many times we say, nope, that's too much risk. We got to stop that. We got to let our dreamers dream, and our visionaries have the vision to create and cast those dreams into realities. The other thing that I believe is a key is schools. Now, I gave 3 examples of technology: AI, robotics, and a superhighway. There's not one school in Pembina County that can be an expert in any of those. But maybe, just maybe, they could be an expert in one. And maybe we could figure out how to get the kids that want to be in the other fields to those schools on a regular basis so that they can excel in what they want to be. We have to understand that's different than what we've done today. That's different. I grew up in the 70s. I grew up in a consolidated school. The opportunities there were so much bigger than what we had as little old Hopedale, Illinois, a class of 20 kids. But what we have to understand is that may not be reality everywhere, but what can we do with a school that promotes what we need to promote and invites others in, not to compete, but to collaborate and work together and say, here's where we can go, here's what we can do. In closing, I want to play a scenario real quick of a dinner conversation. Grandpa, Dad, and grandson sitting at the table. Dad goes, son, I want to send you to Agritechnica in Germany today. We need to understand what's best for the farm to come. It's the world's largest ag expo, and I want you to go and find out where we need to take the next steps. Son goes, yeah, international travel, I love it. He comes back totally pumped about this newest thing that Dad and Grandpa know nothing about. He sits down and he goes, I'm so pumped about this. And they're sitting around the dinner table and Grandma goes, what did you learn? And he just starts going. And Grandpa sits back and goes, that's a lot of risk. I got through the 80s. We didn't take risks. I'm not sure I'm up for that. And the dad's going, oh boy, that scares me. That's too much technology. And pretty soon, the son and the grandson sees himself defeated. Not intentionally, but because there wasn't an enthusiasm to learn about what he had seen, he could read the feeling in the room. My generation has to understand we have to let our dreamers dream. We have to let them go. And guess what? We got to change. We got to understand that while I got us through the past, what got us here won't get us there. We have to look at that and we have to understand it. The dads have to have enough knowledge of technology to ask the right questions. If they ask the right questions, the son will go, yep, I can help. Let me get a hold of this company. They'll send a representative out to talk to us more. I sat with them for 3 days, and I'm sitting with you for 30 minutes trying to get everything that I learned into a conversation. Young people have to understand that my generation is going to throw up some roadblocks, not intentionally, but we will. Because change is hard. We didn't grow up with technology. We had to learn it. Our generation that's coming up today doesn't know what it's like to have a computer. They don't know what it's like to get out of the chair and go change the channel to one of the 2 or 3 that you get on the TV. They don't know that. We have to look and we have to move forward. The way we're going to do it and the way we're going to accomplish getting a vibrant rural America is all of us taking a part. All of us actively understanding that each one, as it was said earlier, each one brings talent to the table. You may not have the gift of the person over here, but you have a gift. How does your gift fit in to the machine that can create the solutions so that together we can overcome the issues that stand before us and lead in helping to feed the world? Thank you very much.